We're back for the Evolv podcast. This one right here.
Happy Friday, my friend.
Oh, thanks, man.
Happy Friday. It's the end of the week. We like doing these Friday podcasts.
You know what? It's actually it's a weird day to host a podcast, I reckon, because everyone likes to just ease out of their week, ease into the weekend, and it tends to be a day where it's less productive, I reckon. But for us, I guess because we're less productive in general, I feel like most people are less productive on Fridays. We like to enjoy our time by just talking shit in front of the camera, and that's why we created the Evolv podcast to enjoy ourselves on a Friday night. Well, Friday, just Friday.
Afternoon.
Yeah, just Friday.
Now,
Just say Friday.
last podcast, we spoke a lot about nutrition and personal training. We spoke a lot about that stuff. Didn't really dive too deep into...
The
Daily Stoic.
The Daily Stoic, yes.
It's inside.
It's alright. We can talk about it in the next podcast.
We'll talk about it in the next one. But that's what we sort of ran over the topic of.
And we can read a passage.
Nah.
Would you be comfortable with talking to the camera for like 5 minutes while I'm gone?
Yeah.
Alright, guys, I'll be back. Have fun.
What do I do? What do I say? Where are you going?
What have you got, man?
No. Last week we spoke a lot about stoicism, and stoicism is actually like a really good way of outlooking on life. Now, when by the time Brendon gets back, we'll be able to go through a little bit more of like what stoicism is. But pretty much the definition of being a stoic is actually, there was a definition by the book. There's a definition by the book. So it's a person who can endure pain and hardships without showing their feelings or complaining. So that is the definition of being a stoic. Brendon's back. He's got the book.
Now, the book, guys, this is what it looks like. We like to call this our Bible. Breathe. Okay, fine. Let me not say we. I. Is that better?
You do the reading.
Okay. I'm just going to pull a random date. Give me a random date in the year.
The 15th of March.
Is that because it's today?
No, because this won't be posted on the 15th of March.
I know.
So it's random.
But today's the 15th of March. Oh, let's go. March 15th. The present is all we possess. Now, the present to them is a different date in the future. But anyways, the present is all we possess. Were you to live 3,000 years, or even a countless multiple of that, keep in mind that no one ever loses a life other than the one that they are living. And no one ever lives a life other than the one they are losing. The longest and the shortest life, then, amount to the same, for the present moment lasts the same for all and is all anyone possesses. No one can lose either the past or the future, for how can someone be deprived of what's not theirs? Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 2.14. Now, whenever we read that part of the book, because the book is always split into two sections, this top section here and then the bottom section.
And the top section's a quote or
From,
like a reading from somewhere.
Like that one was Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. When was Marcus Aurelius? He was one of the Roman emperors of the Roman Empire. If you know what the Roman Empire is, I hope you do.
Well, he was a very, very stoic person for his time.
Yes, we'll say that. Now, we always trip out when we read these parts. I don't know if you understood anything that was said just there. Do you understand anything that was said?
The present, whether you're leaving your life, which is what it said, or continuing with a life, the present is always the exact same amount of time.
Yes, whether you look at life as it's going to end soon, or life as I've got a long life, No matter how you look at it, the present is still going to be the same time frame for everyone. Now, let's read the next section, which is going into it a bit deeper and in a bit more modern English, I'd say.
It's just taking a step back from the
quote that was written,
Shakespeare type words.
over 100 years ago. Was it?
I think so, yeah. Who knows?
Who knows? Today, notice how often you look for more. That is, wanting the past to be more than what it is, different, better, still here, etc. Or wanting the future to unfold exactly as you expect, with hardly a thought as to how that might affect other people. When you do this, you're neglecting the present moment. Talk about ungrateful. There's a saying attributed to Bill Keane, the cartoonist, worth remembering. Yesterday's the past, tomorrow's the future, but today is a gift. That's why it is called present.
I use that one. I like using that one.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I like using that one.
This present is in our possession, but it has an expiration date, a quickly approaching one. If you enjoy all of it, it will be enough. It can last a whole lifetime. Wow. You know what? In this present moment, while we talk to our podcast viewers, all 2 subscribers that we currently have in the room
Which
right
is
now.
me and you.
Yeah. I've got to say, I am enjoying the present moment.
Yeah.
Reading the Daily Stoic to our 2 subscribers and to you.
Thanks,
Rianon.
man. Thanks,
You
man.
know, I wouldn't be anywhere else right now.
I always preach that. I always preach that if you look too
Yesterday's the past. Tomorrow is the future. But today,
is a gift. That's why it's called the present.
the present. You know what? I rate that. I really rate that.
I always preach that one. I don't know where I heard it from, but it was maybe something I watched.
Quote from Bill Keane,
Maybe.
the cartoonist.
I'm not sure, but I always preach that to...
You know what? We have to show these people who Marcus Aurelius is. Is that him there?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it actually is.
Yeah.
He started the thing.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius. Wow.
He was a Roman emperor from 161 to 180 and a stoic philosopher. He was a member of the...
Oh, this is AD.
AD.
180. So we're in 2024 right now. This is 180. Over 2,000 years ago. I said 100.
Yeah.
Silly guy.
But yeah, I always preach this to everyone. I used to do this a lot where I would forward think and try and get to a forward thought and chase it.
Like chasing a desire that's going to happen in the future.
100%. Or I'd do the opposite and I'd focus too much on the past.
And be like, oh, I used to be the best back
Yeah.
then, or
I used to be a better person.
I had this back then, whatever it
I lost
might have been,
this,
like a
this
relationship,
happened.
or you know, maybe you had a flourishing football career that suddenly ended.
But yeah, I always preach that, like, being aware that the present is very, what's the word? Precious.
Yeah.
Because you could be gone like that.
We can die after this podcast. Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
Morbid.
But there was a person I was speaking to. He was a priest. His name's Father Brendon. I was speaking to him, and he was no, not you. No, don't point the finger at you. No. You're not that.
I did try become a deacon.
No, you did. Stop it.
What?
Stop
I looked up deacon.com, how to become a deacon, but there's a lot. It's a very long process. You know what?
Why did you want to become a deacon?
To officiate my mum's wedding.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Yeah. So she was looking for a priest or a deacon, someone that would be able to officiate her wedding. And I put my hand up. I said, I'll do it for you. She was nodding her head. She wasn't a fan of that one. So I went on Google and started searching up how to become a priest or a deacon, whatever it might be. a lot longer of a process I didn't know about. You know, so a lot of them actually go to uni
Yeah.
and study philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, philosophy, like a bachelor of philosophy or something.
Yeah.
So to become a priest, you have to have a bachelor degree in philosophy. To become a deacon, I don't think you do, but you still have to go and get certified in something, which takes a long time. Like it's not like an overnight thing. I want to become a deacon, do it. No, you have to actually go through a big process, which is good. I feel like it's actually really good because not any random Jimbo off the street like me can just become a deacon if they want to, you know, which I feel like you need. And you know, relating it to PT, I won't go into much of a tangent on this.
That's all right.
Relating it to PT, like, you know, there's all these courses out there, become a PT in 3 months, whatever, and you've got all these people that do it, and then it brings down the value of the industry.
Yeah.
I feel, because, you know, if all those people are able to do it within 3 months, what value does it give someone that did a 3-year degree or has been doing it for 4 years, you know, and has all this experience, worked in multiple gyms, been mentored by all these different people.
I did a 6-month course.
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
I know.
I'm relating you doing, you know, 4 years of experience being in the industry, working in all these different areas.
To someone skipping the 4 years and doing it straight away with a shorter time frame.
Yeah, like some people only last 6 months in the industry. The PT industry has like a 6-month turnover, as in like within 6 months you notice a lot of PTs leave.
Yep.
And I feel like that's because there's not too much of a, you don't really have to put too much effort to become one.
Yeah.
You know, which sucks, and it really devalues our work in a way.
Yeah.
Because people just say it as like, oh, you know, I can be
just
a PT.
do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And do it in 6 months.
Exactly, which kind of sucks, but you know, it's what it is. You can't really change the process. But as you were saying,
I was speaking to a family friend of ours, Father Brendon, and he always used to talk about how he'd have people that would come to him and always forward think and be like, I don't want to be like this, I don't want to be like that, or thinking about their past too much. I don't want to be the person I was.
People always do come to me for those things. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, what that also got me thinking, apart from the fact that, you know, being in the present, as the book talks about, being present is a gift. That's why it's called the present. I learned something in that communication that I had with Father Brendon was how I'm going to slap. I will slap.
That's animal abuse.
I learned something, and I learned how priests are really good at communicating with, or like relating the Bible, for instance, to their teachings. So they have really effective communication skills in the sense that they can really elaborate on what they're saying with what they've studied or what they've learned about.
They did philosophy.
Philosophy, exactly.
And philosophy, like, let me just get the actual definition because I don't want to wig people out with my definition of what philosophy is. Philosophy. It's like it's actually, you have to be really smart to study this type of thing. I'll just read the dictionary definition because I don't want to trip people out. Philosophy is an activity people undertake when they seek to understand fundamental truths about themselves, the world in which they live, and their relationships to the world and to each other. So it makes sense that priests would have to do that because people always come to them with life problems, relationship problems, problems with their own self. You know, sort of like a people would go to them in a similar way they would go to a counsellor or psychologist.
Yeah.
So a priest would have to have the knowledge on how to guide them in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Through obviously religious teachings. Religious teachings is just one way that they use to kind of say, look, this is what it said in the Bible. I don't want you to take it off face value, like, oh, you know, you must kill all non-believers, but view it as this. And then they switch their mindset and then teach them to live a better life, not really better life, but, you know, resolve their mental dilemma that they came to the priest for through that teaching of opening up their mind to see it in a different way.
Now, just a preface, if you do philosophy, you don't have to become a priest, and you won't need to become a priest. It's just a course that has a general knowledge of everything that happens in the world, religion, etc. Like there's a whole bunch of topics
Life,
that cover
relationships, your own mental battles.
Yeah, but where I was going with that was that communicating is such a strong way to get opinions across, but also to get other people to understand something about something. So to get them to understand about how this cup was made, you've got to have a general knowledge of how,
Cups are made
they
in the
grab the
process
plastic, they recycle the plastic, they chuck it into a furnace, the furnace melts the plastic, then from there it gets
Is that actually how it's made?
Yeah.
Furnace.
Well, imagine this is crumpled up and they want to recycle
into
it.
a microwave.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So I'm talking about communication here and you're talking about a freaking microwave, you bongo. So, you threw me off.
No.
Anyway, communication. What I'm trying to say is that communication is a very effective way to improve people's personal relationships, their workplace that they're in, their headspace that they're in, their social settings. It helps them be a more diverse person when it comes to talking. When you go out to events, you're a lot more reserved, but it's like we were talking about in the previous podcast, being the most quiet person in the room, being the dumbest person in the room to sort of have an understanding.
It's not really about being the quietest, but like, they say that like, if you're super loud and dominating conversation, you're not learning at all, right?
Yeah,
because you're not actually listening to anyone.
Yeah, 100%.
And then, but if you're like so quiet, you're not really adding to conversations. Why would people want to add?
100%. I'm saying like to be
balanced.
Yeah, to be quiet in areas that you don't understand, so you have the opportunity to listen, then you can communicate in a better way.
Then in a future setting, you can be the one that actually talks because you'll know everything about that topic because you learnt.
Yeah, it's like me watching one YouTube video and saying I'm a personal trainer the next day, and then telling people that because I watched one video on body positivity and self-image, you have to focus on going for 20,000 steps a day because it creates a better body positivity and self-image. Like it just doesn't. No. I can't communicate that if I haven't learnt about it. Once I've learnt about it, my communication becomes a lot better with it. It's like reading. When you read a book, you're able to express and talk about and communicate.
You become more knowledgeable about that area, whatever it might be. But I feel like communication skills are so fundamentally important, no matter what you do in life. It doesn't matter what you do in life because, we're talking about communication skills. It can be really useful in business, be really useful in careers, no matter what career path that you choose. But not only places that you're going to be making money or building a career, whatever it might be, but your relationships with other people. If you're not able to communicate a point to someone and have an opinion, what value do you provide in other people's lives?
You probably still provide a value, but not many people want just someone to be like, yep, you know what, you're right. They don't want a yes man.
Yeah, no one wants a yes man.
Some people want that conversation. They want to be able to talk. They want to be able to throw opinions left and right across the room.
Yeah, if you just have someone that's constantly just saying, yes, agreeing. It's like, the best way to explain it is when you're playing a team sport like football and you're just smashing that team 10-0, 12-0, do you not get bored?
Yeah. You want to call the game.
You'd want to call the game because you're like, there's no point. They're not actually attacking. They're not scoring.
It's like if you're winning 12-0 and they're just doing nothing, they're letting you run around. Yeah. It's like, do you actually want to play? It's like when you're in a conversation with people and you just got someone sitting there the whole time, not communicating. It's like, do you want to talk?
Yeah, do you want to add anything to this debate or conversation?
Then that comes down to reading the room and being able to read the room. Like if you can see someone that's quiet and reserved and sort of not really conversating,
Yeah.
Adding a conversation to them or asking a question to them or an opinion to them can create conversation in the sense that they can start talking
Open
about
them up a little bit.
yeah, and then you get a different viewpoint. You go, oh, I never really thought about it like that. Or, that's tough. How would you go about it in this way? Like being confident.
Being able to include other people when they might not feel welcome or able to, you know, because a lot of people that I guess are a little bit more reserved, so they find difficulty in, you know, entering conversations in group settings, right? And I know many people that find difficulty in entering group setting conversations, especially if they haven't been in that group for a long time.
Yeah.
So having the skills to be able to include them, but also not to make them feel awkward, not also not turn down the vibe of the room as well, is a big skill. I know Rianon's like a pro at this, you know, like at not killing the vibe of the room, but including people that are not actually feeling like that. Yeah, it looks like they're left out.
Because I used to be the guy that was left out. So I'm like, stop this. I want to.
I've got to help this guy.
I've got to help me. So
I've got to help my past me.
So how do I do that?
And that's Ray's present. In the present.
That was actually a good point you bring up, because I never really viewed it like that. I never really looked at it like, oh, well, like Ray's really good at this. No one points that out. No one says that. Oh, Ray, you're really good at communicating. Oh,
yeah.
Never. Thanks, man.
That's
appreciate it.
So but why do we do this podcast?
I know, but like, you know, you don't. This comes down to self-awareness and emotional.
Ray likes getting validated.
So does anyone. It's like if I say you're a good soccer player, you're gonna be like,
you feel good. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
Everyone does in their own way. But what's that love language thing? The five love languages.
Touch, sight, sense.
No. There's 5 different love languages. I always get asked this. Oh. I want you to try and guess which one is mine. Actually, yeah, 5 love language types. I want you to try and guess which one's mine, because you should know it.
Physical touch. Words of affirmation, acts of service.
Yes, I reckon yours is words of affirmation, isn't it?
Mine's is a little bit of words of affirmation and acts of service. I hate receiving gifts. I like quality time, and I do have physical touch as well as one of my love languages. But I feel like my main...
Like, which one do you like receiving?
My main love language is definitely words of affirmation.
There's 2 different ones. Like, there's one like, you like receiving one, and there's one that you like giving. I feel like you love giving gifts. You're like a gift giver. You are.
I'm all of those, bro.
You're a gift giver as well, but I feel like you like receiving words of affirmation. Like, you like when people, like, you know, doing
the first 2 are definitely me. Like, acts of service are definitely one. Like, just talking to people and helping them, like, get out of a bad mindset, and definitely words of affirmation. Or doing things for them,
like, you know, washing their car.
Yeah. I like hearing things. I don't expect it though.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you can't really have expectations of all these things. But like, to give you a little bit of an insight into Ray, right? Ever since since I met the guy, right? So he's actually taught me more things about my life to make my life a little bit easier. So I like to say that Ray comes into my life and he just somehow makes my daily tasks or my daily life just that little bit easier. Like, he came into my car the other day and he found this little thing that I could add to my, what was it that he added? Like, it was, he pressed some button on my car. I've had this car for over a year. Never seen this button before. But he pressed that button and he just fixed something. I was like, well, gonna be using this button pretty often now. Like, oh, it was a mute.
Oh, the mute button on his...
So you know how you, the volume button on the car, like on the steering wheel, you can press it and it puts on mute. I didn't know that. You know, I'm pretty, when it comes to tech, I'm pretty shit.
There was another time you threw everything in the cup holders, and it was just everywhere, and you couldn't shift gears and none of that. And I just like organized everything in the middle of the console, and you're like, oh, thanks, Ray. You just make my life so much easier.
And such a little thing, but I was like, man, I like this.
Yeah. Far out. That's another good thing that comes out of it. Like being aware, obviously, that there's things that you need to improve on, and being able to listen and not let it go in one ear and out the other. Because that adaptation to someone's opinion, it may not be something that you change straight away, but it's something that sort of rings in your ear a little bit when you do that again. You're like, oh wait, I remember that Ree said this.
Yes. Yeah,
Or I remember that I got taught this in school. You know, like when you speak to someone, they're like, oh, I remember doing that at school.
Yeah, 100%.
And it brings back like a whole new memory,
brings back those memories and stuff like that. I feel like you know how you always talk about the disc profiles and how like when you get to know someone, you'll understand what their personality kind of is based on the disc profile. Like what are they again? Dominant, influential,
cautious
and steady. Yeah, so those are the 4 personality traits of the disc. Everyone is a mix of 2. Well, a mix of the 4, but
there's 2 dominant ones that you sort of
you're mainly are, and then the other 2 you're kind of like a little bit of each sort of thing. Everyone is not completely one side or whatever it is. They're going to be like somewhat little bits and pieces of everything, because everyone is, I guess, what would you say?
Different.
Yeah, everyone's different. Exactly.
There's not one thumbprint in this world that is identical. Do you know that?
Well, there we go.
So, you know, just as much as your thumbprint isn't the same, your thought processes aren't the same as someone else's. You can have a similar opinion, but it won't be pinpoint the same
thing.
Unless you have like a twin brother or sister that does everything that you do, full stop, period.
100%. And even then, the twins are still different to each other.
Yeah.
In some way.
They still have different, they have different thumbprints.
There we go.
So they are different.
But just on that quickly, so disc profiles, everyone has a different disc profile, obviously, to an extent. You'll only know someone's disc profile, one, by actually getting them to do a test and reviewing that test. But another way, and this is something that Ray taught me, is by taking a back step and starting to notice that person, what they do every day. Because he was able to determine what my dominant 2 are without me even doing a test. He just figured them out from, being around me all the time. He would be a little bit quiet and notice like how I reacted in certain situations, and he was like, yeah, here's this, whatever. You were only able to do that because you were effectively listening and looking out for things. I feel like that's pretty much the same with love language as well. And if you start to notice these things about certain people in your life, you're going to be better able to connect with them in a better way. If you're constantly just trying to overpower them with communication, you're never going to understand that person.
Yeah, it's like a read the room type of scenario. Not be in a room and actually read it. It's like just that general blanket statement of like being able to read the room or understand or being aware of what's going on around you. Like having that, for instance, on last week when all the boys came over to play chess and one of our other mates walked off because he wasn't involved, and I was just watching, trying to learn. My awareness wasn't on the game. My awareness was on seeing if everything was all good with him. So I up and left and found him, and we ended up having a good old chat. So like that's like that being self-aware. Like there's a point here that we put down, which was emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. What does it mean to you? What does that emotional intelligence mean to you?
I guess this is a bit of a broken definition for me personally. I just feel like being emotionally intelligent to me is still having all the emotions. So being able to express all emotions like sadness, happiness, anger, like everyone knows what the emotions are. I don't have to list them all. Being able to express all emotions, but being able to control them. Yes. So let's say my best explanation of this is when you're in an office building, you're working 9 to 5. I feel like this is the best explanation, right? You're in your 9 to 5, and then I don't know.
Start your day off.
Your dog died.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was just gonna say you don't have a coffee in the morning.
Okay, that's probably better. that's probably a better example.
Yeah,
okay, so you did have your coffee in the morning, and you can either react in a way of, oh man, I didn't have my coffee today. Damn, I'm not gonna have a productive day. This isn't going well. Throw in the towel, and then you're not gonna really work as effectively. You're gonna go throughout the day with this negative mindset and not really produce good work. The people around you are going to be in negative moods because you are in a negative mood, and you're just going to create this negative energy everywhere around you and wherever you go, because you're going to be depressed about something that happened that should have been just a minor setback from your day, right? Now, you can flip that and be like, shit, okay, I didn't have my normal routine coffee that I normally have every morning at the same time from the same cafe. Okay, damn, that is a bit of a shit go. Move on, and maybe you can get a coffee later, from that same place, just at a different time. Still have that same positive energy about your work, but you don't have to be happy. You don't always have to be like cheerful, happy and fake, but you also don't have to like be completely down after something that's so minor. And I feel like that's emotional intelligence. Being able to switch on and switch off certain emotions.
That's a good definition.
Not being completely swayed by something bad that happens, but not being completely swayed if something good happens. If something really positive happens, not being that beam of light, because that can be a bit overwhelming for a lot of people. Being able to, I guess, express that emotion, like I am having a good day today, but not being like, oh, I'm having the best day ever, like this is what's happening,
Because you never know what someone else is thinking or what someone else is going through.
Exactly.
So if you're overzealous about the fact that you won $300 on the slaps, and then you got someone that just lost $300 to a scammer, and you have that conversation of you being like overjoyous and not being able to read the room, and that person changes their emotion because they can control it, but in that situation they can't because they're already feeling the lump of losing $300 and someone's got the lump of winning $300.
Well, that's emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
They should both be able to control their emotions and be equal.
And express and communicate about their
wins or
experience.
losses, but just instead of shitting on that person and that person shitting on the other person's win, But yeah, like that's to me emotional intelligence. What about you? Like I feel like that's a pretty
good definition. I don't think I could top that. That's pretty much like what I would have said as well. Like emotional intelligence.
The dog dying thing is a bit too far.
Too much. But like being able to control what you can't control. So
yes, yeah.
In a sense,
you can never control what you can't control.
Exactly.
Like being able to control what you can control, and everything that you can't control. Like, there's going to be things that you can't control in life. Like, an example would be a dog dying, but not being, like, completely swayed from your normal life just because something tragic may have happened. Like, obviously, like, something tragic happening, like your dog dying, a family member dying.
You have to grieve. You have
to grieve, of course. But, like, how do I explain it?
It's tough because there's a lot of people that do... Their emotional attachment towards... say their dog or a family member, etc., is so strong that it does hit them down a peg. Like when we've lost a loved one, it hits you down a peg for like a couple months.
Of course,
but you have to
like a breakup in a relationship,
like
a breakup with your partner. Like let's say you're dating them for a few years, and then suddenly you've broken up and you didn't see it coming. That would be devastating. Same as losing a loved one if you didn't know it was going to happen.
100%.
Devastating but you should be able to, I guess, I feel like there's two ways of looking at it, right? Either look at it as, oh, this person's gone, I'm done, that is so shit. Or be grateful that they were in your life for a certain period of time and be like, oh, I spent X amount of years with that person. Even if it was only a month, I spent a whole month with them. The whole month was amazing. And then reminisce on everything that you were able to achieve in that relationship. Be grateful for that relationship or that connection that you had with that person. And I feel like that's a different way of looking at it. And how are you going to grieve? You're going to grieve in a very different way, But yeah, I feel like everyone is different. There's different ways to grieve. I'm not telling you how to grieve or how not to grieve. I just feel like you definitely shouldn't be, letting things that happen in your life affect your emotions too much. You shouldn't be receiving like big spikes like a stock chart all day long. I feel like for me personally, I can express all emotions, but I look pretty neutral all the time. If I'm being honest, and you've known me to be like that. Like I'm always pretty neutral. Like good things will happen, I'll be like happy, but it won't be like I won't be going like this.
I said it to someone the other day. I can't remember who, but I was saying pick and choose your battles. Pick and choose your battles, and what I meant by that was emotions can make you make choices that you sometimes either regret or you're grateful for. But that's up to you. That's the choice that's left in your hands. If you're able to be grateful, what was the other word that I said? Grateful and anyway. What was the two things I just said? I just freaking said it.
You're losing it.
I lost my train of thought.
Shall we stop the podcast and rewatch it?
Nah, far out. Anyway, being grateful for a relationship. What we were talking about was relationships. Being grateful for a relationship and being sad about a relationship ending. You can sort of merge the two together, and I feel like that is the definition of gratitude.
The way to become like grateful
Yeah.
or like neutral.
Yeah.
Like, happy about the things that have happened,
Yeah.
sad about the loss, right? If you merge them together, you're going to come to that neutral path.
Yeah.
Having both thoughts in your head, like,
Yeah.
it sucks that this person isn't in my life anymore, but I'm so happy for the time.
Bless you.
I'm so happy for the time that has gone, that we've shared together.
Over time, you do have different relationships, whether that be with your pet, with your family, with a loved one. There's a whole bunch of relationships that you can have highs and lows with.
Yeah,
The dog can eat your homework and you're angry, but then the next day you're giving him a cuddle. You could have a fight with your partner, but then the next day you can be talking to them like nothing happened, or talking it out.
Or vice versa.
You have a fight with your brother or sister or mum or dad or whoever, and
the next day still be fun.
Rekindle it. So like that, as you said, like a stock chart, I feel like that is...
It's not good for your life to be a stock chart at all.
It's not, but that's where stoicism comes into play.
Always being neutral.
Always being neutral, and
good things happen, bad things happen.
But ride the wave, boys. Ride the wave.
And that's always been my motto. Ride the wave.
But I feel like definitely within those different types of relationships, there's been, you can... What?
Huh? Yeah, different types of relationships.
With those different types of relationships, it's good to have that sense of gratitude, because you can learn so much from the ups and downs of what a relationship can give you. So for an example...
this is any relationship.
Right? This is any relationship. Family, friends, partner,
sexual
cat,
partners,
dog, whatever.
What?
No, that's true. That's true. Sexual partners, yeah. Being able to strengthen the
bond.
The bond
comes with the trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
You can't look at your relationship with your partner or your family member or friends as it's always been good. There's never been any fights, because I'm sure you've faced some sort of testing moment in your relationship. We've faced heaps, but that would only become part of our relationship. I feel like we look back and I'm like, we went through this hardship at this period of time, but that is part of our whole relationship. You can't look at it as, just delete it from your mind, because
that's part of every relationship.
Exactly, and you built your relationship after that situation. Whatever it might be.
I think that's the power of gratitude. That is like the full power of what a relationship, regardless of what one it is, can actually benefit you. Like the one thing that I always say is everything happens for a reason. Some people come into your life for a season.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
For a season. Or an episode.
Or an episode. Or, they can be in a blooper, or they can be...
Have you had many people come in for a blooper?
You know what? I have. And it may be a couple months. But to me, in my life, that's a blooper. You know what I mean?
A couple of months is a blooper. I'd say that's like an episode.
Could be. You know, who are you to say I'm wrong or right?
You're right.
So,
For you, a blooper would be a couple of months.
you know,
So for me, I feel like a couple of months, I would count that person as they're in here for an episode
oh, okay.
or two. Or a couple.
Or two. Couple. Whoa. It's
Couple
a long
episodes.
episode. I'm just saying, like, there's, like, for instance, my preschool friend, I was only with him for a year, but me and him were inseparable for a year.
That's a season.
That's a season? A year's a season. So a month is an episode,
Yeah.
and a day is a...
A blooper.
Fair enough, you know.
You know
I'll
what, guys?
take
You can
that.
have your own definitions.
Yeah.
'Cause for you, maybe a season is a decade. You know, who knows what they were.
Oh, God.
Whatever timestamp you put on it, the way we're trying to explain it is, you know, you're putting different value points on the types of relationships that you're having.
Yeah.
You know, if someone was only in your life for a couple of months,
Season is a
you
year.
know. But like, yeah, that's a good example.
Yeah.
Like the people you met in kindergarten, I'm
Yeah.
sure you didn't see them for much longer after that.
Yeah.
On all of them anyway.
Yeah.
How long? What would you count them as in your life? They still have an impact
Mm.
in some way.
They're still a part of the movie.
They're still a part of the movie. Yeah, 100%.
Your life is a movie. all
You
right?
might have scars that are on your body created from that time that you were with that friend. I remember I fell out of a clubhouse in preschool. So if there's a scar on my body from that moment, I'll share it with one of my kindergarten friends or my
Yeah.
preschool friends.
So
So
there's a cut here on my hand. I know 100% remember this when I was doing butterfly in the pool when I was doing squads.
there
and,
you go.
and I was doing butterfly and went, and I've gone, I remember the pain like it was yesterday, and I still feel it to this day. Like, you know when you get those slices?
Oh yes.
And it's just
So
like-
how old were you?
I would have been a little 13, 14.
Oh, so Cogre Marist already.
Yeah, yeah. I was doing squads in the morning at like 5
Should we
a.m.
be telling them where we're from? Oh, two subscribers. They already know where we're from.
Yeah, we've given them our whole freaking life story by this.
I want to
At this
talk about the body positivity because it is a bit of an interesting world.
It is.
Am I allowed to Am I allowed freedom with this topic?
I will give you as much freedom as possible. Just don't go berserk.
Don't be
for it.
fat.
And on that note, we're ending the podcast there, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I've seen like there's so many companies out there now pushing for plus size models.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're saying like, oh, look at these plus size models. No, I don't agree with it. Sorry, I have to say it. I don't agree with it at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
At all. How is that a depiction of health? I'm not saying you need a chiseled six pack. I also think that is not a great image at all, because to get down to a six pack, you have to be very restrictive with your eating. I feel like you're under eating when you get to that point.
Yep.
At some point, right?
Yep.
But also being plus size. Do people actually think that's normal to be plus size?
I think it's... Who did I say this to the other day?
It's just not normal. I don't think it's normal to push either direction. Where is middle ground? Middle ground would be a human that is, eating their maintenance level of calories, feeling happy about their life, but not too fat.
I think the way... that
Me and
you have-
Rianon are perfect examples, right? No six packs here. There's no six packs here. We train, we exercise, but we exercise and train because we love doing those things. We're both soccer players, so we play football only twice a week. We train on Wednesdays, play games on Saturdays. I've started doing jiu-jitsu. Rianon's doing group training, but we also go to the gym. So we're doing quite a few things, but it's all things that we love and enjoy. And then we come home and we have our Mediterranean food diets. Like we're having big bowls of pasta, having a shit ton of rice that is around 1,000 calories, having a lot of meat, having a lot of coffee, and having eggs and bacon in the mornings. Which I feel like to a lot of people to some people it's normal, some people it sounds excessive, but that's just how we like to live, right? I just feel like it shouldn't be pushed, that type of body image. Because if you're pushing it, then people are going to constantly think it's normal. You know what I mean?
I think the way the world used to be and the way the world is now, that was definitely going on beforehand,
What do you mean?
like the two different body images. But now it's just a lot more prominent because people are making it more prominent. Because there's social media pushing it more, it's more in your face because it's on advertisements and billboards, it's on TV, it's on your ads on your phone when you're scrolling through Facebook, it's on, like it's there, it's in your face.
But we've also got to agree that like back in the day, those skinny models that looked like sticks, that is also not healthy. You know,
there's
for women to
two
get to
degrees.
that level of body fat, most of them lose their period, become infertile, have no meat or muscle or anything on them, to me is not a true depiction of health. You know, they don't look healthy at all, being that skinny and lean and stuff like that. But also the same can go for the person that is, 20 kilos overweight. I don't know. I feel like they're on two sides of the spectrum. Why not pick the people here as
Like we were talking about emotions, there's the forward thinking and the past revolving people. Oh, sorry, not that. Sorry, we were talking about emotions and how you can show one height of emotion and you can show one low of emotion more so than being the middle ground.
Neutral, yeah.
I feel like what you're saying is true. The body image is being pushed both ways.
In
too
extremes, in the two extremes.
Because
Either the upper extremity being fat and lower extremity being, what would you call it, too skinny?
Yeah. So there's overweight or obese, and then you've got your
Underweight.
skinny model underweights. And, not many people these days are talking about having a very balanced, actually a lot of people are, but a minority of people are talking about having a balanced lifestyle with balanced food and this and that. It's only starting to come out now if you actually go looking for it.
You know what's funny? Most of those people are health coaches. I don't see many. There are obviously health coaches out there that have the six packs and the rigs and they look great, whatever.
They've worked for that though.
They've worked hard for that. But I would say majority of health coaches, PTs that we follow, don't have the full six packs and ripped abs, and I'm not, stage ready.
But their lifestyle is maintainable
great.
And joyful and happy and balanced. And
James Smith
is one.
Smith is the king of this.
EBT is one as well. Like
he's got a six pack, but
he's got a six pack, but like
he's not like full.
He's
not ready to compete.
He's not ready
to compete. That's
yeah, I know. He doesn't tell you like get skinny or.
He just trains that way. He's a
boxer by trade, but the thing that he always promotes is just having balance. If you know that you're feeling overweight, you can do things like supplement Coke for Coke no sugar as a basic example. Like just adjusting your lifestyle by what you eat or what you drink, etc., can really change your life. It's 100%. As blanket statement as that is, like changing your life. Like you hear that and you're like, oh, I want to change my life, but it's like no, you've got to want to change your life.
You got to want to, and you got to realize that it's not easy. It's actually hard work, and that's, I guess, going into like making sure that this is something that a lot of our nutritionists teach us a lot about is mindfulness with eating. Not just like eating whatever you want when you want, because that's actually hard to achieve, but being able to get to a stage of eating food when you have hunger cues, and that's a big thing. Like only eating when you have that hunger cue come about. I'm just like, well, that's actually a cool way to think about it. Never thought of it like that, but I feel like teaching yourself through calorie counting, like through places like MyFitnessPal, James Smith and EBT actually have macronutrient calculators on their websites, so check them out. Where you can just type in your age, your current weight, activity level, and it'll spit out a number of calories that you should be eating for maintenance or gaining weight
All
or
those
losing weight.
macronutrients and the
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
It's good. I feel like those things are very
useful.
useful, and that comes down to having the right
I feel like it'll
tools
just
in
teach
your
you.
arsenal.
I feel like it'll just teach you about what you're putting into your body, and once you know what's going into your body, you can make those decisions yourself. Like, let's say you get the number, your number's 2,000. Let's say this is a blanket number, and then you eat your normal days of food, and you realize, oh wow, I've been under eating. I'm only eating 1,000 calories. Then your goal should be to slowly start increasing to around 2,000. Same vice versa. If you're someone that had the number 2,000 coming up, but then you're eating 3,000, maybe it's time that you start making little changes to your diet to lower the number a little bit. And Coke no sugar instead of Coke is a good example of a beverage change. You know, opting from McDonald's to making your food at home could be a food volume change. You know, those are just slight tweaks that you can make that, you know, will put you more in line with hitting your goals
100%.
in that way. Yeah.
It's definitely. Oh, I saw this video the other day. This lady who had a 2, 3, 4-year-old, I think it was, and she was making, you know, those cake mixes.
Oh yeah.
She put two like butters, 2 actual containers of butter in this thing, cracked 12 eggs, put 2 sachets in, blended the whole thing, and that was her meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner.
What?
I don't know where I saw it. I think it was either on TikTok or Instagram or something, but it was like, you know, those documentaries where they document people's lifestyles. This lady was one of them, and she was overweight, and that was her lifestyle, was buying like 30 of these packets a week, using 2 packets for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, eating that in front of her kid. The sugar that was in there, the 2 like containers, I'm not even joking, like containers of butter. The whole thing went in. She sat there, mixed it all up.
Man.
She ate as much as she could until she was full, and then put the rest away for later.
And this is, we always say this, you become the 5 people you hang around the most with, right? When you're a child, the only people you're hanging around with are your parents. So you got to realize, if you're a parent, that what you do every day is being watched by your kids. Even if you don't think like that, you know, they might be pretty young. Like your habits, they're watching. You know, if you're someone that is doing what this mother is doing, your kid is gonna see that over time, and be like,
That's just
oh,
normal.
that's normal. That's how I eat. That's how I should be eating.
That's how mum
And then-
eats, so I can eat like that.
Exactly. So as they grow up, they're gonna start using the butter and the, you know, doing the exact same thing, eating the same way, because that's what is in their head as what to do. Right?
That comes down to good like food education as well. I feel like
Healthy Harold.
Healthy Harold is definitely one of the things that growing up, like learning about that stuff. But, you know, it definitely comes down to...
You know, I realised Healthy Harold is basically the PDHP teacher for primary school, isn't he?
Pretty much. In the most basic way possible, that's how you would describe who Healthy Harold was to you when you were growing up. Pretty much.
He taught us about anatomy of the body.
Because when we talk about... When we had sport at school, it was just to play sport. Like when you heard sport as a kid, it's like, oh yeah, sweet, I'm going out for a run.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was never really to learn about the human body, or to learn about the anatomy of the body, or what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. And drugs and all that stuff.
And all that stuff. Because Healthy Harold, what did he teach us? He taught us about the human body, taught us about drugs and alcohol, taught us about consent, taught us about relationships.
Taught us about everything. I actually didn't really put that into perspective until...
He taught us a lot of stuff, but everyone just kind of used it as a piss take because we were talking to a giraffe for an hour inside a van. How creepy does that sound? In primary school in Australia and Sydney, there would be like, I think an hour of your day where you would go into a van with your class, swear to God, into a van, full pitch black.
Like a big camper van, big caravan. It was like a semi-trailer.
Yeah.
It was like a semi-trailer that they decked out into being able to house at least 30 kids, and then you go in there.
And then this giraffe comes out.
I thought it was actually real when I was younger, but it was actually just someone.
Was
I
a
don't want to
puppet.
spoil it for the kids, but Healthy Harold's not real, guys.
Yes, he is. Anyway, so a giraffe came out, and then the giraffe would be the thing that teaches us all these things, like about anatomy and how boys have willies and girls have,
The JJs.
yeah, and you go on about that, and it was a good lesson, I feel.
Yeah. Made you learn.
Well done, Healthy Harold. You taught us something.
Where were you going with that?
Huh?
Where were you going with Healthy Harold?
I actually don't
Oh,
know.
we were talking about eating. We were talking about food.
Oh, he taught us about food. He did. He definitely taught us
And he
about
taught
food.
us about food, educating us on food, but then obviously going into high school, you learn in PDHPE about food and the benefits of food.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit more
People
of a
actually
deeper knowledge
underestimate
base.
how much you learn from school, because they always say like, oh, you don't learn shit from school because you can learn everything you learn at school somewhere else.
It depends what you want to learn and what you like
You
learning.
need to get that general knowledge
100%,
from everywhere. Like,
100%.
even though I hated history, don't think I'll ever use history in my life. I feel like though I remember concepts from history lessons or geography or whatever it might be that has been used in life. I might not become a history teacher or ever use history, but then I might be in conversation with someone that is older that was in that time frame, and I'm like, oh right, I remember learning about this in history. Then you can add to the conversation.
Yeah.
You build a connection because of the knowledge you have. Another example would be geography. If you didn't know shit about geography from school, you just learnt more about like, okay, how was tsunami created? The tectonic plates doing that, shifty shit, whatever it is. But yeah, I feel like you do learn a lot from stuff like that. General knowledge. School teaches you general knowledge. I feel like it's useful. I feel like people get a debate on that topic. A lot of people don't think it's useful. I don't think I've used anything that I learnt at school in my current career and my current career path, if I'm being honest.
But it's good to have that basic knowledge because, as we said in the beginning, like it comes down to the communication side of things.
Building connections,
active
as I
listening.
said just before, like history has helped me have conversations with older people.
Yeah. Like we're able to talk to people of all ages. Like who asked me today? It was one of my clients asked me today. She goes, "What's your average age that you train?" And I was like, "The youngest that I train is about 21, 22, and the oldest that I train is like 57, 58." So like being able to be across that knowledge base of people that were growing up in the 2000s to people growing up in the 1980s, like there's a big discrepancy even more 1970s, like being able to have that broad knowledge base of just being able
60s.
whatever it is, it's a big gap. There's like
sorry guys.
There's like nearly 40 years in that.
Sorry to subscribers.
There's nearly like 40 years in that. So like being able to have the opportunity to be grateful that we're in the position to be able to go to school and get educated about the normal stuff. Sometimes I look back and go, oh, school's nothing. But there were some things that we learnt along the way that make us come out and be like, you know what, I appreciate those things. So I'm grateful for the fact that we learnt about X, Y, Z. And then you go on into university, you go on to running your own business.
Can choose, and that's when you can choose what to learn, But yeah, I guess that's what it is. And I feel like a lot of lessons come from actually going out and doing it, I like learning from mistakes. Not everyone does learn that way.
Yeah.
Everyone learns differently, right? People like to go for the cautious road and knowing exactly what's going to happen before they make that leap.
Yeah.
For me, I actually just like throwing myself in the deep end and then learning as it comes.
Yeah, no one likes learning from mistakes, but mistakes are the perfect way to learn.
And
I
like learning from mistakes.
Yeah, I've
I
learned.
purposely like to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I can learn.
I've learned to be accepting with mistakes that I make and see them as a learning curve. More so than letting it affect me mentally, physically, emotionally.
And that is evolution, guys. That's basically us in a cocoon deciding to open up into a caterpillar. Right?
For next week, we had like a whole bunch of topics that we were going to speak about, but I think we're going to add them onto next week because they're actually really, really good. We'll add them onto the next podcast that we have, and we'll add a couple extras.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about. Actually, that's something I wanted to talk about, but we'll talk about it next time. Is financial wellness and budgeting, because it is. I feel like it is a big topic for everyone. No matter what you do in life, one of our subscribers might be pretty well off. One of our two subscribers might be pretty financially poor.
Yep.
Maybe both of them. I don't know. I guess you'll find out in the next episode.
But yeah, I think. Oh, I saw this quote today. Before we end, I saw this quote today. Money management is more important than making money.
Yes, 100%. And I'll tell you why. Because how many times have you heard someone winning the lotto and then within a year losing all the money that they made or that they got? Because they didn't learn the skills of having $1 million in the bank account. They only had the skills of living paycheck to paycheck. This is an example. This is just an example. And their paycheck to paycheck was $1,000 a week. If they continued just leaving themselves $1,000 a week, but still working, whatever it is, they would have been able to save that, $1 million or whatever it was. Whereas because they got this influx of money, they're like, oh, now I have all this money, I can just use it whenever I want. They buy the house, they buy the mansion, they buy the cars, and then they start spending all of it at once without the ability to create more of it.
We'll definitely talk more about that in the next episode, but that's why I
incoming, guys.
That's why I left it for the next podcast. But for now, thank you for being stoic with us today. That was actually a good way to start because it gave us like a good conversation to sort of roll off. So I think next time we're going to go off the daily
Get
stoic.
the book, guys.
We're going to go off it, and I'll give the reading next time. So you do one, I'll do one, you do one, I'll do one.
Done.
But for now, thank you so much for listening. If you want to subscribe, please do. And if you want to leave a comment, please leave one below. And we'll speak to you.
And that's the best way to be in touch with us. Or you can drop us an email.
We'll leave an email in the description box below. But for now, we'll speak to you soon. We're out.